Most men today, or in history, don't actually feel their own emotions. They've spent their whole life reacting to their emotions, and that's not strength. That's being a boy with a beard. I have read Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman a few times. And he has a lot of other books: Social Intelligence, Working with Emotional Intelligence, Focus. Great books, highly recommend. And it's changed how I think. Here's just kind of my thesis with it. The difference between the mature man and the boy isn't physical strength or necessarily, that rugged toughness, but it's not money. It's not how loud you are. It's whether you can identify what you're feeling and sit with it long enough to understand why, and then choose your response. And that's a skill that nobody my age has or is developing. Most people my age can't even focus for 15 seconds. Boys react, men understand. The key point here is almost every guy that I know, operates on stimulus and then they respond. Something happens, they react. That's a child's nervous system in an adult body, right? When a man feels emotion, everybody feels emotion, but a man can feel it. He can identify it, whatever it is: anger, shame, fear, jealousy, whatever it actually is. And he can sit with it long enough to understand why he's feeling it and why it's there. And then he can decide what to do with it. The gap between feeling and action is where masculinity lies. The manosphere version of control your emotions, and what a lot of people today who do not understand anything about stoicism, they all think it's just suppress them. And it's not. It's not what Goleman taught. It's suppressing your emotions is just delayed reaction, and it's going to come out in a bad form later on. Usually to the closest people to you also. The real skill is having awareness, understanding, and then choosing a response. It's just 3 steps. All of which it takes years to build. Believe me, I am nowhere near close to being or having high EI, emotional intelligence. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. And there's actual neuroscience behind why this matters. The neuroscience, and this isn't soft stuff. Goleman's whole book is built on real brain science. That's why I love all of his books. There's always the neurological part to it. This isn't feelings, it's how your brain is actually working. It's how your nervous system works. The amygdala is the emotional brain. It fires faster than the prefrontal cortex, which is the reasoning brain. When it's the reasoning part of your brain. That's why when you that's why you react before you think about it. It's an evolutionary feature. It's not a bug. You're not broken, but like that instinct saved your ancestors from getting eaten. So there is some good to it. But the wiring is plastic. When you meditate, you literally strengthen the connection between the prefrontal and the amygdala. You are physically rewiring the gap between feeling and action. That's why every monk, every soldier, every elite athlete, high-performing CEO, they train some version of this. And it's the most leveraged skill that any human can develop. And here's why it ties back into meditating. Meditation will bring up your past, and you have to just sit with it. When you actually start meditating at first, you don't get peaceful. You get honest. Old emotions, memories, regrets, shames, angers, they all come up. And it's not a side effect. It's kind of the point, right? Because when you meditate, you have to be able to identify, like what is this? And sit with it and think about it. Most guys quit meditation right when that happens because they don't know what to do with it when it comes up. They think the goal is not to feel, and that's the opposite. The goal is to feel them clearly enough to understand them. Why do I feel this? What's triggering this? How do I fix it? Right? And Goleman's book, this book and many of his others, it'll give you the tools. You learn to identify the emotion, name it, sit with it, understand it, understand the story underneath it, and then you can either let it go or you can express it. And when you express it, you're doing it on purpose, not out of reaction. And that's how you process things instead of letting it run and ruin your life. And this is the work that turns you from a low quality guy into a high quality guy. Turns you from a boy to a man. And nobody under 30 wants to do it, and a lot of older men don't do it. Very few men do it. I had a mentor of mine, and one of the first, we would meet once a month, and one of the first things he told me was being smart, being charismatic, being able to, you can do all these things, but if you don't have EI, emotional intelligence, which also ties into social intelligence, you're not going to be very successful. And it's a hard thing to learn, right? Again, it takes years. I'm hoping when I'm 40, I'm good at it. This is the work. It takes years. There's no TikTok hack. It's just years long practice. And I just started it, maybe a few months ago. I read this book, and it was eye-opening. It really is. And I'm not done with the book. When you read a good book, you should reread it several times to really understand it. You should highlight it. You should know it. I'm not done with the book, and I'm not done with the work. But every guy that I know who I actually respect has done some sort of version of this work. And every guy that I know who's stuck or can't like you can spot it instantly when you see someone with low EI. The mature men, there's a gap. There's a space between the reactions, and immature guys, they're hostage to whatever they're feeling or whatever just happened to them. And the manosphere, or TikTok or Instagram will not teach you this. Therapy bros, like all the people advocating for therapy, like they over talk it, and they don't understand it themselves. Goleman gives you the real science behind it. Meditation gives you the practice, and together they're a beautiful toolkit. And the cost of not doing the work is your entire adult life. Boys react, men understand. The work is to build the gap between feeling and action. Train it with meditation, name what surfaces, and then choose a response. Let it go, address it. Pretty simple. Hard, but simple. And it's going to take years. Don't tell anyone about it. There's no... You won't post about it. There's no thumbnail that'll, for the moment that like you sit with an old shame and you finally see it or feel it, or you understand what it is. And that is the difference between a boy with a beard, like I said earlier, and a good man. I would encourage you guys to, pick up a copy of Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Read his other books too. And, pair it with like 5 minutes of meditation. A little weird, but, it's a little different at first, but you get used to it. And see the changes. Like it's pretty amazing. Those are my thoughts on Daniel Goleman and what I've been reading and kind of thinking about. Have a good night.